Good evening, everyone. The June 30th, 2010 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Andrews? Here. Mr. Barker is excused. Mr. Bronson? Here. Chairman Daniele?
Here.
Mr. Haney? Here. Mr. Hyder? Here. Mr. McCann? Here. Mr. O'Brien? Here. Dr. Quattro? Here. Mr. Tucciarello? Here. Mr. Yolovich? Here.
Are there any speakers signed up for the public forum this evening?
No, sir.
Is there anyone present who would like to address this committee at this time who did not sign up to speak? He may? Yeah. He looks enthralled back there. No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. You have before you the May 26, 2010 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee in your folder. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of day today. The next item is new business.
Referral 10-189.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-190.
Moved by Legislator McCann, seconded by Legislator Quattro. Legislator O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, this property is being developed, or is not being developed. It's being acquired to really be used in its current state, and is not appropriate for development. And in fact, I believe that access to Devil's Cove parcel is strictly by water. Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I got that essentially correct?
Mr. Chairman, I know the answer to that question is yes. However, if there are any others, Mr. Staub is not here yet, so we might want to hold off on any further questions until he gets here. Okay, well, I'm not sure. I do have one question, and I'm not sure it's actually for Mr. Staub, or because it has to do with a funding question. I'll just ask it, and then if we need to wait for him, that would be fine with your consent, Mr. Chairman. In the resolution where we authorized the acquisition of the parkland, funding came from two different fund centers, the Open Space Initiative Fund and Parkland Acquisition. And I see here that we are reimbursing the Parkland Acquisition Fund, and I guess my question would be, is that right, or are we in fact refunding both funding centers that we used to acquire the parkland property? And if Mr. Staub is the appropriate person to answer that question, then so be it.
Mr. Staub did just arrive, so if we do want to, if that's necessary, he's drum roll. Hey. Perhaps Legislator O'Brien, if you wouldn't mind asking that question again.
Right. Welcome, Mr. Director.
Thank you. I was speaking with Legislator Lee and Legislator Gamble on the steps.
I was commenting on how much I like the Devil's Cove parcel. I think it's an important part of our park system to have a part that's not being acquired for development purposes, but is going to be left for people that can access it, apparently only by water, or through, if they get permission from adjoining property owners. We really will have preserved a rare piece of property in the community. My only question, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Director, is really a funding question, and that is that when we acquired the property, the funding source was two different funding centers, the Open Space Initiative as well as the Parkland Acquisition Fund of the County Parks Department. And I see that now we're being reimbursed by accepting this grant, and that the funds are going into the Parkland Acquisition account. Is that accurate, or are we actually going to be refunding both centers, or can we not also reimburse the Open Space Initiative Fund?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, when we purchased the property, half of the purchase price came out of the Parkland Acquisition Fund, and the other half came out of the Green Initiatives Fund. In the referral that the legislature approved, which authorized us to apply for the grant, we indicated in that referral that we would be refunding the money that we received from the grant, if successful, into the Parkland Acquisition Fund. So then we'll be able to roll that money into future parkland acquisitions.
Okay, I just want to be sure we were straight on that. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion on this referral? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposition? There being none, next item.
Referral 10-191,
Moved by
authorizing,
legislator Quattro, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Any discussion on this referral? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
referral 10-192,
Moved by legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
referral 10-193, amend resolution.
Moved by legislator Yolovich, seconded by legislator McCann. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 10-194, amend resolution.
Moved by legislator McCann, seconded by legislator Quattro. Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a matter of curiosity, does anyone have any idea what percentage of jail inmates have STDs? It's not something I'd expect you to know on the top of your heads, but
Through the chair, I'll have to get back to you.
okay, that's
Don't have
fine.
that data with me.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-195, acceptance of
Moved
the
by
grant-
legislator Quattro, seconded by legislator Tucciarello. Any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Mr. Chairman, it may be in the transmittal and I've just missed it, but this is for the early intervention program. What is it that we're intervening in?
Through the chair, good evening. My name's Anne Marie Steffen. I'm the administrator of Special Children's Services. Early intervention is for intervening in children's development. It's for kids ages birth to 3 who have special needs and their families.
Is this like the Healthy Moms program? No?
No, it's through the chair. It's different than the Healthy Moms program. It is a home visiting program, but children have to be eligible for the program. They have to demonstrate a certain degree of delay in one or more areas of development in order to receive services.
Oh, so it's children with developmental disabilities?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-196.
Moved by
amend-
legislator Tucciarello, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-197.
Moved by
amend-
legislator Yolovich, seconded by legislator McCann. Any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm confused by the data on the purchase of services information form. It says that for the year 2010-2011, which is actually like a 17-month period, apparently, from February 1, 2010 to June 30, 2011, that the number of participants in the program is going to be 10. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the number of positions that were provided with these additional dollars will be 10 slots for employment that is subsidized. The program period began February 1. The dollars were received in addition to our annual dollars for this program. The ending period will be the same ending period as our annual allocation.
So, am I correct in assuming that the $107,550 is going to pay for services for 10 people?
The total number of participants is 13 because there's going to be a few people that aren't going to make it through the program. But the ideal is to provide 10 slots for people to have unsubsidized employment, with the ultimate goal that after 6 months, they will a certain percentage of those people will receive unsubsidized employment. It's a job training program. The total number of people served by both funding streams is 42.
So it's costing something in excess, or in the neighborhood of $10,000 per person?
The New York State Office for the Aging allocates these funds by a formula to the county. We don't determine that amount.
But the program costs, whether by state determination or whatever, about $10,000 apiece?
Yes, sir, and that also includes job training, computer skills, interview, how to properly interview, and other training accoutrements, if you will, in order for these people, these older adults, age 55 and older, who are very difficult to place in employment.
And this cost level is established by the state, so there's some kind of norms that say that's what it should be?
Yes, there's a funding formula. These dollars were allocated to the 9 counties within New York State. These are additional dollars that the Department of Labor is allocating, and the New York State Office for the Aging has identified our county as a high performer, thus we were allowed to receive these funds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-198, authorized contract.
Moved by Legislator McCann, seconded by Legislator Quattro. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-199, authorized.
Moved by
acquisition.
Legislator Quattro, seconded by Legislator Tucciarello. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 10-206, amended.
Moved by Legislator Tucciarello, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Given the fact that we've been seeing these construction projects come in well under estimates, could somebody just illuminate me a bit as to why all of a sudden we're seeing one coming in over the estimates?
Through the chair, I haven't had that many that have come through. Maybe there's other ones that have come in under, but this was a little bit over the engineer's estimate. There was some lump sum items that were unique to this project that the engineer put an estimate on that in the end, when the bids came in, they were a little bit high, and that's what accounted for the $90,000 more that we need for the capital fund.
So the capital fund as it exists is 90,000 short of being able to fund the $614,000 low bid. Is that what we're saying?
Well, through the chair, and all costs that have come up to the capital fund to date, the design, the construction inspection, right. We did purchase a box culvert separate from this bid, and we put out to bid and got a box culvert. So it all totals up to $90,000 above the total capital fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Legislator Haney.
Mr. Chairman, as I promised you all, and I'm sure you're keenly awaited from the last Ways and Means Committee meeting, I have a couple of questions about the first quarter key budget indicator report. First, I want to make sure I understand it, and I'm looking at the table attached to the letter, where we say the expected variance now in total will be someplace between a negative 4.4 million and a positive 1.3 million. Would it be reasonable to say that we may be expecting it to end up someplace in the middle between those numbers? I mean, if we wanted to try, I mean, that's a spread of 5.8 million, would it?
Through the chair, that's correct. We would anticipate it ending in between those numbers, hopefully on the positive side.
Okay. So we're expecting, and I realize this is only the first quarter and there's a million variables, but that we may well be ending the 2010 budget year with a $1.5 million deficit. Is that the way, some give or take a million among friends?
I'm not certain where we're going to end up in between that range.
Right.
We will do everything we can. We have monthly budget monitoring, so we closely track these sorts of bumps up and down as we move through the budget year. And we try to make corrections throughout the year so that we will hopefully end the year in a positive position.
Would it be safe to assume that, based on these projections, that most of this will be occurring in the general fund as opposed to the enterprise funds?
Yes, that's correct, through the
Okay.
chair.
Two additional questions. The budget as adopted did not, as I recall from the budget discussions, include anything for wage settlements for either CSEA or the Social Workers Union. Is there any projection of any costs for those settlements in these numbers?
Through the chair, no, there isn't. There still are no settlements with those bargaining units.
Okay. As to pension costs, as I recall again from the budget discussions, the pension costs in the budget were figured at the pension rate for the payment that we had to make on February 1st of this year. The state comptroller has released, last September, released projections of rates for the payment that has to be made next February 1st, which will be for most of the year 2010. And unfortunately, as we all know, because of the drop in the value of the pension fund, the estimated premiums, well, NISAC estimated that they were going up 60.8% in the regular employees fund, from an average of 7.4% to an average of 11.9%. As I recall from the budget discussions, the budget was totally premised on the lower rate, the rate that that applied to the payment that was made this past February 1st. Is that still the rate that's being assumed in these numbers?
Through the chair, we budget the pension payment on a cash basis, not an accrual basis, so that we made that payment in February of 2010, and we budgeted for that 2010 payment in our 2010 budget.
Right.
For the 2011 budget, we will budget for the payment that needs to be made in February of that year. So we don't budget the pension payment on an accrual basis, but rather on a cash basis.
But when you get to the end of the year, the auditors require you to book it on the accrual basis, don't they?
The booking it is different than what this report attempts to capture. This report attempts to capture how we are as to budget, to reflect how departments' revenues and expenses are performing as we projected them to be performing back in October of '09 or so when we created this document.
But when I look in next year's CAFR report, at the page that compares budget numbers to actual numbers, won't the actual numbers in that CAFR report reflect the higher pension rate?
Through the chair.
Through the chair?
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, this is the actual rate is the way that it's been budgeted for years. This is the way this budgeting has been done of this pension payment.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, but there is a large adjustment that will have to be made at the end of the year, isn't there?
Through the chair.
Through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, there is.
Through the chair, do you have any rough idea what that adjustment will be?
Through the chair, I do not.
Okay.
But these are two different documents you're making reference to, and they demonstrate two different things.
Right. Because I've estimated the adjustment at $5 million for what it's worth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? There being no further business, the June 30th, 2010 meeting of the Ways and Means Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting is scheduled for July 28th, 2010 at 6 p.m.